Hey everybody, welcome to Jacob's Quest, and today we have a little bit of Star Wars news, including the rumored report of a new Knights of the Old Republic video game being in the works. Okay, so let's go ahead and just get to the actual news of what happened. In a recent episode of Bob the Podcast, Bespin Bulletin has revealed that a new Knights of the Old Republic title is under development by an unknown developer. Now, Bespin Bulletin is actually a pretty well-renowned scooper in Star Wars stuff, especially during Rise of Skywalker. Some of the leaks from Rise of Skywalker came from Bespin Bulletin and many other things. But here's exactly what they said. There is a Knights of the Old Republic project in development somewhere. I talked to a couple of people, and I also found out that Jason Schreier, he said that it's not with EA. We will never guess who the studio is. It's happening somewhere. It's happening. And then later he said, the other company I heard who were in talks with who were in talks was Activision, who has had a lot of experience with remakes recently, the Crash and Spyro trilogies, as well as the Tony Hawk trilogy, or Tony Hawk 1 and 2, sorry. Maybe these guys can handle it. Okay, so that's what he said, and he made some clarifications on his Twitter, actually. People are still confused over the Kotor thing. What I said was, I heard from some sources that Kotor is happening, but not with EA. That's it. That's the scoop. Anything else I said on the pod is pure speculation. Okay, so he's being pretty clear that he doesn't have any further information than that. So of course we're left with a lot of questions still. Is this a direct remake, or is this more along the lines of a sequel? This is not the first time that this sort of rumor has shown up. In fact, I remember probably only 2 years ago, I think, that there was another KOTOR rumor of like, oh, they're kind of working on something somewhere. But I think it's more likely now than before, not only with the rebranding of Lucasfilm Games, but also with the fact that now any publisher can kind of work on stuff. It doesn't have to be EA. So now it's kind of more believable than ever that, like, yeah, someone somewhere, there's probably a lot of Star Wars stuff being worked on right now that we have no idea about. We know that there's an open world game coming out. We know that there's probably a Battlefront 3 game coming out. Fallen Order 2 is coming out. We know all these different things. This makes sense. Now I will say personally, I have not, I've dabbled a little bit in the KOTOR games, but I've never I haven't spent enough time in those games to say that like, oh, I know all about them. I've totally played them all. I will say this though, the KOTOR era, those games specifically, along with the books and the comics and everything around that time, that is a massive point for the fan base, especially the fans of the EU and Legends content and stuff like that. That has been something that they've been wanting to see a return of for years now. My main concern about all of that has always been that if they were to try and adapt KOTOR into a movie or a show or anything really, you would pretty much hear nothing but, they didn't get Revan right, they didn't do this part right, they didn't say this correctly, that's not how this was supposed to happen in the game, My main concern has always been like, it would be easier, and it would probably just be smoother for everybody across the board if they just came out and said, you know what, those old games and those old books, those are just canon now. We're not changing anything about them. They are exactly how they were. They're canon. That's it, because no matter, if they try to adapt it in any way into something new, there's going to be changes. And even the smallest of changes is going to cause this huge explosion in the fan base. And I'm sure that they don't, want that, right? So that's my thing about KOTOR has always been. So if they're doing if they're remaking it, I think that's great, especially because that would then, assumingly, that would make that version canon, this remade version of KOTOR. And if it's a sequel of some sort, then that kind of makes it more nebulous of like, is it, if it's a sequel to those non-canon versions, what does that mean? In any case, this makes a lot of sense to happen because there's a lot of untapped potential there, and it kind of gained its popularity as a video game So it makes sense to make that the avenue that you bring it back with. So again, obviously we don't know anything about it. Everything else is speculation, exactly like the guy says. Literally all he's heard is that it's happening, but it's not with EA. That's it. So anything else you hear from this point on, unless it comes from like another reputable scooper or something, it's probably just someone speculating. In any case, that's really exciting. I do intend on playing those original KOTOR games. I'm waiting for my better PC I bought to come in. I bought it like a month ago and it's still not here. I was like, oh, it'll come hopefully within the next week. That was like 3 weeks ago. Yeah, crazy. Anyways, so, if you're a fan of KOTOR, how do you feel about this? Would you rather they just do a remake, like an HD, like full remake, like everything is beautiful now? Or would you rather they just make a sequel, something that's like, okay, it's still, all the mechanics are the same, but it's all new, it's a new story? Or would that be a little too messy because you're like, what's canon, what's not canon, what's legends, what do we count? Yeah, how do you feel about the idea of this? Me personally, I think that I would rather them just do a full scale bottom to top remake, but try to change as little as possible. That way everyone is happy, and you can just bring that stuff into canon now, and it's like, okay, this is the canon version. It's pretty much exactly the same as the original version. It's fine, just keep it that way, There you go, no problems, right? Anyways, let me know how you guys feel, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye!